That said, let me explain to you why Tenet is still a shitty movie.
That's a perfect example of I went in there so optimistic, and after the first 10 minutes doesn't make sense, 30, an hour, and I'm sitting there focusing so hard, and I'm like, am I missing this? Because I trust Nolan. An hour and a half, and I'm truly wasn't being negative at all. I was just like, okay, I gotta clip in somewhere and zone in. I'm gonna miss it. And then like eventually the movie ends, and I'm like, what in the fuck? Like, I tried to like be on board, totally open. I'm like, what am I missing? Give it to me. And it just never came ever for a moment in that movie.
I had the exact same experience. I think you tried to sort of warn me, but you didn't want to like poison the well. So you didn't really say anything too negative, but I had heard negative things elsewhere, but I still went in going, fucking Nolan, dude. I trust him. He can do it. And didn't pay off. Part of it is that I'm too stupid because I just literally don't understand what's happening. But I happened to come across a video in my Matrix research, Tenet, a misunderstood masterpiece.
It's a different kind of fun than Inception, which is a different kind of fun from a Marvel movie, which is a different kind of fun from a romantic comedy. We're supposed to engage with things in different ways. And Tenet has been so fun for me.
And I was like, well, I want to be positive and I want to understand what's good about it. This YouTuber explained what the movie was about. So what do you think the movie is about? Can you take a guess?
Without my friends trying to explain it, I would have zero guess for you. Honestly, forget it. Just you tell me, because none of my thoughts will make any sort of sense because I didn't get it at all.
This is just one guy's opinion on YouTube. The argument he was making was the whole movie is sort of leading up to that final action scene where they introduced that strategy.
The temporal pincer maneuver.
Where those soldiers go in to fight a battle in regular forward time. And then there's Team B, blue team.
Red team is moving from the past to the future, like normal people. Blue team is inverted. They are moving backwards from the future through time.
Waits on the sidelines for the battle to be over, and then they go through the battle backwards. And the reason that's beneficial is because when things are moving forward in time, Team A can get to the end of the battle and inform Team B what happened. And so Team B goes backwards through the battle, knowing what Team A did. And when they get to the beginning of the battle, they can then tell Team A what happened. And so now Team A also knows that they're going to win the battle because they've gotten this piece of information from the future. And so it's creating this paradox. This is impossible.
Guys, this entire movie is just Christopher Nolan going the temporal pincer maneuver. Wouldn't that be fucked up? That would be so fucked up.
It's like a brain teaser. It's like this puzzle. That's what the movie is about. A paradox that has no connection to reality or human existence. Metaphorically, it's not connected to anything I can make sense of. And so this guy was really excited putting this together. And then, of course, the rest of the movie is just more layers on top of that, where things at the very beginning are set in motion because things that have happened at the very end. And so like the overall story is the same maneuver as that final battle. And so that makes it sort of make sense to me what Nolan was doing, but I just don't understand why. And maybe I'm missing something. You know, you talk about this when we talk about aliens or the simulation, and your argument is sort of, you're never going to know, and it's a complete waste of time because it doesn't affect your actual human life.
Right.
And I don't totally agree with that because I think there is a metaphorical meaning or maybe real meaning to both of those. Whether or not we're actually in a simulation, I think it's interesting to talk about the Matrix and sort of the metaphorical simulation that we're in. So there is, if you just go into metaphor, something there. With Tenet, I don't know if there's a metaphor or if it means anything. I think maybe it doesn't.
You know,
But why would he spend so much money on it if it doesn't mean anything?
It's just not worth it. If that's the scratch he wanted to itch, he did it just for an example, to show how fast you could have done that. He did one in Inception, and they're running up the stairs in a square, and the bad guy falls off the stairs, and they look up, and it's because the stairs don't connect, and he looks at the girl and he goes, paradox. He put a little maze in there for you. If you want to have a little paradox gag in your movie, throw it in there like that. Don't make the full, like you just said, 2-hour movie, millions of dollars for some little gag paradox that nobody, like you said, if it had a metaphor or something I could dig my teeth into and think about it in another way. Nope.
Paradox.
It's just that there's stairs, and the angle you look at it, it makes it look like a full set of stairs. But the trick is, oops, it's a paradox. It's not stairs that connect. That's what it is to me. So why waste that much time when you could do it in a line? It's a fucking joke, man.
I don't know. I feel like I must be missing something, or I don't understand the human being that is Christopher Nolan. And maybe that's okay. Maybe he's just, I don't understand him.
And the human beings that, care so much about that little paradox.
The temporal pincer maneuver.
That you just explained to me, and I don't want to process it any further. I barely understand it, and I don't care. I don't understand the human being that thinks it's so important that they're going to watch a 2-hour movie about it and then do a ton of research and be like, oh, that's a cool little science paradox.
The temporal pincer maneuver.
Where it's going to serve them no further purpose. It's not going to help them in life. They're not going to come across a situation where they're like, oh, I'll implement that Tenet paradox.
The temporal pincer maneuver.
And this will help me in this situation. Nope.
If this explanation is correct, it serves no purpose. Whereas the Matrix films, I think, are trying to serve you something. There is a deeper message there. Mm-hmm. We talked about last week how we didn't necessarily connect with it. I didn't connect the dots. I've done a bunch of research now. I still don't totally understand literally what's happening. And I also don't totally understand metaphorically what's happening. But I do get the sense it's pointing in a direction, which makes it have a reason to exist. Mm-hmm. Unlike Tenet, which feels like maybe there's no reason for that film.
Yes, and let's be positive, because compare it to Tenet. I'm all on board with The Matrix 2 and 3, and I agree there's stuff that they were trying to do. Like you said, it didn't deliver, but there's a point, there's a reason. So it's easier to be more positive with these Matrix, especially if we just finished talking about Tenet.